It's been half an hour since Tamika left Slice, but Jaden is still on her mind. His willingness to give up basketball to work a part-time job for his family was an awakening for all the hoop groupers, but Tamika carries it especially close. The bond between Jaden and his mother is like a high beam flashing a spotlight into the emptiness that looms between her and Coach Beck. Recent events may have brought new hurts and disappointments, but Tamika and her father haven't been close in years, for as long as she can remember. Basketball took him away and kept him away, on long nights in town and longer weekends on the road. There was always some player on his team that he was grooming. Kendrick King, then the next Kendrick King, then the one after that. All the while, Tamika developed her own game, working dribbling drills in the driveway and studying shooting mechanics on YouTube. She laughs now, remembering how Dex pegged her form to Coach Beck, how Dex has no idea that Tamika learned it by watching some of her father's old film, and not from the man himself. Tamika always assumed that she'd grow closer to her father as her game improved, that they'd bond over motion offenses and zone defenses. Only recently did she come to understand that no matter how hard she tried or how good she got, her games would never mean as much to her dad as hoop groups. It wasn't that he didn't like female athletes, but he just didn't believe that they had a future in basketball. Women's hoops will never be as popular as men's, he told her when she turned 10. Unless you play college ball at one of the handful of schools, you'll be playing in front of empty seats. There's no future for girls playing basketball. But what if I'm good enough to play at UC Con? She encountered, where Gino Arma comes all the way to Lauren to see me play. Coach Beck had simply shrugged. Okay, so you play for UConn. Let's say you get drafted into the WNBA after that. Then what? You'll make what? $75,000 a year? You'll have to spend your whole off season playing in different countries just to piece together an income that's still a fraction of the NBA league minimum. What's the point? You can go to med school or law school and make 2 or 3 times that. Tamika had no response. She hadn't realized that the women made so much less than the men in pro basketball, but this information only made her want to play more. It made her want to make the WNBA better for other girls like her, not avoid it completely. Meanwhile, her dad was busy trying to push her into tennis, a sport where women like Serena make more than a lot of men. It was too late, though. Tamika was already in love with basketball, and the schism between her and her father seemed to become permanent. Those memories are fresh. The wounds are still raw. But as Tamika arrives back home and walks back past the kitchen on the way to her bedroom, she comes face to face with the reality that the past problems she's had with her father may not matter anymore. He won't eat, Tamika's mother says through tears. How's he going to fight this thing if he won't eat? Tamika studies the plate on the table where her dad normally sits. Big chicken, smashed sweet potatoes, and roast broccoli remain untouched. He just stares at me, her mother continues. When I talk to him, he just stares like I'm not even saying anything. Tamika takes a couple of deep breaths and tries to summon enough calm for her and her mom. Did you call the doctor? I did. He said that this is normal, but nothing about it feels normal to me. He says Parkinson's patients sometimes have a hard time swallowing and that I should make your dad some softer foods. So I did that. I made your dad sweet potatoes and wouldn't even try them. I don't know what to do. He cannot eat. Sobs devour the rest of her words and she buries her face into her hands. When her mother first told her about her father's diagnosis, Muhammad Ali was Tamika's sole reference point. It was only Tamika knew who had ever had the disease, and although she never told her mother, the realization has been the source of many nightmares. When Tamika thinks of Ali, she thinks of him at the end of his life, wheelchair-bound and silent. The confident swagger of his youth stolen by this horrible sickness. With her own voice thick with emotion, Tamika asks her mother, will Daddy end up like Muhammad Ali? Tamika's mother rises from the table, walks over to Tamika, and wraps her baby in her arms. Maybe you should try to talk to him, she tells Tamika, and then adds with a smile, he always listens to you, even if it doesn't always seem like it. Tamika finds Coach Beck in the den with ESPN muted on the big screen and a scrap of old newspaper clippings on his lap. She walks up behind him, and when she does, she notices his finger lingering over the same article that Dex had mentioned. There she is, atop her father's broad shoulders, her messy pigtails bound with giant bubbles, her grin too big for her baby face. She can't recall the moment when the picture was taken, or even that day, but she remembers how she felt, how she knew that her father was the greatest guy in the whole world. She smiles at the thought. Moments later, Coach Beck senses Tamika standing behind him. He's startled when he turns around and sees her, but he also seems happy to have her there. Come have a seat, he says as he points to a nearby chair. Why don't you tell me how Hoop Groups has been going? Everything is good, she says, pleased that her father is willing to talk about basketball. I think we may be finding our rhythm. Coach Beck nods. What about Jaden? Tamika's heart seizes at the memory of his years at Slice. He left Hoop Group. Actually, he's not playing basketball at all right now. He's dealing with some stuff at home. Coach Beck says, that's too bad. It is, but we'll be fine. Dex and Anthony are still learning, but I'm there, and we have Chris too. Chris? Coach Beck slaps the arm of his recliner and shakes his head. Chris isn't a team player. He thinks he's a leader, but he doesn't know the first thing about leadership. You're right, Dad, Tamika says, but it's fine, because I'm the team captain right now. I'm leading the team. Coach Beck stares silently at his daughter. I got Principal Kim to come on as an adult supervisor, Tamika continues. She's even arranged scrimmages against other teams. Tamika stops, suddenly thinking about Dex's suggestion that she asked Coach Beck to pop into the practice once a week to help signups. They definitely need another body if they're going to have any shot at competing in the fall invitational, and her recruitment strategy is failing miserably. Maybe Dex was right. Maybe her father would be helping to help Hoop Group secure a fifth player. Tamika starts telling Coach Beck about Hoop Group's current predicament, how she's done everything she can to fix it. He appears to be listening, but all of a sudden, before she can ask for help, Coach Beck is standing, gripping his chair with one hand for balance and pointing the other at Tamika's face. Who do you think you are? He says to her as droplets of spittle fly from his mouth. You all have no right for what, Daddy? No right to enter the tournament as Hoop Group. Well, I'm sorry, Tamika says sarcastically, but we are Hoop Group now. Coach Beck cuts his eyes at her. Watch your tone, young lady. I've worked my whole life to make a name for that program. I will not have it ruined just because you want to play around. Play around? Nobody's playing around. I told y'all on the first day that I had to step down and there wouldn't be a program this year. But you just had to go behind my back anyway. And for what? You don't even have enough kids for a real team. Coach Beck coughs, clears his throat, and settles back in his chair before adding, shut it down, Tamika. Shut it down now. Tamika's near tears. She holds back long enough to tell her father, more respectfully this time, that it's too late. The shoot, dunk, and spin classic is a series of skills challenges held at the end of Lakeside Fall Festival, and the winning team gets an automatic entry into the Fall Invitational. Tamika has already entered the team, and she signed them up as Hoop Group from the Carter Middle School. Whatever, Coach Beck says, turning his back to his scrapbook. You can call your little team whenever you want, but you'll never win the classic, and you'll never be the real Hoop Group. Later that night, Tamika's crying herself to sleep when her mom comes in to tell her goodnight. I just don't understand, Tamika sobs. He's just so mean to me. I'm so sorry, baby, her mom says. Your dad's just not himself right now. He's sick. Well, what am I supposed to do? Accept the fact that he doesn't care about me or my dreams just because he's sick. Tamika's mom sits at the edge of her bed and pulls Tamika close to her, rubbing her daughter's back in tiny, soothing circles. No, baby, she says. You're supposed to go out there and keep fighting. You're supposed to show your father and everyone else that you can go out there and win.